What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and you like the video if you like what we're doing over here at D Stance. Um, the last week has been interesting, given the fallout from the Charlie Kirk murder and all of the decisions and reactions that have come from it. Congress has passed a resolution honoring Charlie Kirk on his birthday. Unanimously, might I add, Democrats and Republicans unanimously passed it for a man with Charlie Kirk's legacy. So that just gives you an idea. But that also inspired this week's thought process. So I want to start by saying our country has reached its destination, right? Since the inception of this nation and its failures to uphold its ideals, its own ideals, right? Um, we've been on this path that I believe that is going to either lead to justice or destruction, and but that's just my beliefs, right? So I've been listening to various media platforms since over the past week or so, and sports, politics from different countries, just trying to get an idea of the spirit of what everybody's feeling and what everybody's going through right now. And some two things that I've taken away from my reflections and listening to people's opinions on, like I said, the Charlie Kirk murder and the fallout in the week since last week. One, uh, people don't see things that happen in this country as Black history, right? They don't see the things that happen in this country in Black history to Black people as a greater part of American history. So, people know about the big things of American history. They know about the Civil War, but it's a very fascinating thing that people don't look at that, like the Black part of it, not the Union and the Confederates part of it or the splitting and all that. They look at that. Obviously, that's American history, but what I'm seeing is people don't look at Black, like what happened to Black people, and take that and use it as a reference for, oh wow, this is where the country's at. Um, so yeah, like people don't see Black history as a part of American history. I think a lot of people see Black history as things that happen to Black people, right? And American history is the history of America. They, like I said, it's a very unique thing that it gets separated. And the second thing that I realized is the people that have immigrated here, whether they be Black or white, it doesn't even matter, Asian, whatever. They only see the country from its idealistic point of view, for what it espouses, what it wants to be, right? Like again, and that goes hand in hand with not saying Black culture, Black history as a part of American history. Because you see, as an immigrant, if you come here and you don't understand Black history, or you come from a country that has anti-Black views, you're immigrating from a country that has anti-Black views, so you don't even care about Black history, all of the fallout from Charlie Kirk is gonna confound you. It's gonna stump you, because the truth of America is in its history. But again, if you're separating the Black part of American history from American history, then you're not gonna understand the picture. America will always confuse you. Because if you're an immigrant or somebody who's non-white, whether or not you identify as non-white or not, if you are identifiable as non-white in this country, there's a certain level of there's a certain level of depth and nuance and hypocrisy that you don't understand. You just don't understand it unless you dig deep into the history of the country and you reveal it to yourself, and then you'll never be able to unsee it. Um, so because the truth of the matter is, before America was a nation, she promised liberty and justice for all while holding Black people in slavery, right? So that's what I say, like when you dig deep. So a lot of people are responding to things that are happening in the country, and they're just like, yo, this is not America. And like I said, it's confounding to them, not to me. It's confounding to them because they don't believe, or they haven't been studying. I'm not gonna say they don't believe, 'cause that's not fair. They haven't been studying Black history and American history to see, like, no, this is who America is. The violence, the extrajudicial killings, the hypocrisy, the saying things out of both mouths. That's very much American. The political violence has always been there. The silencing of voices has always been there. See, but the thing about it is, when it was affecting only Black people, it was something that was happening over there. You see, when Dr. King gets killed back in the 60s, now I wasn't alive for that, obviously, but when Dr. King gets killed in the 60s, white people, they knew it was wrong, obviously, right? And so again, like same thing with Charlie Kirk. Nobody's saying that he shouldn't have been murdered. But the thing about the death about Dr. King is it was black people. So, kind of, sort of, it's like, well, he was kind of a Robert. You know what I mean? It's not that he deserved to die. It's not even that, like, unlike Charlie Kirk, it's not even like what Dr. King was saying was preaching hate. But, it's sympathetic, but, he's black. So, so you know what I mean? That's kind of that's kind of how history kind of looks back on it, and I'm talking about for non-black people, because that's the only way I can rationalize it, because if you understand American history, nothing that is happening is new. It's happened before, and you shouldn't be shocked. People are now saying they don't trust Kash Patel because, like I said, his handling on Congress, he went on the Hill, and he was very belligerent. He's very disrespectful. He's very evasive in his words. He wasn't very forthcoming about evidence and the investigations. And now people are like, oh God, we don't trust the FBI. The FBI released documents of Charlie Kirk's murderer, and not documents, text messages of Charlie Kirk's murderer. And those text messages were very suspicious. And people don't believe the FBI. And I find that thread very fascinating, because black people have been saying from the beginning, not exactly, but since the FBI really became a very powerful part of the government, black people have been saying for years what the FBI has been up to. So it's fascinating, again, to me, to sit back and watch the country as a whole clutch their pearls. And I can only pull back that you don't take black history serious. You just don't. You don't think that what happens to black people happens because the country has an issue. You think that what happens to black people happens because we are doing something wrong. And even if you can't figure that something out, you still feel that way. Most people that are shocked by this. You see, but now that Charlie Kirk has got killed, now Jimmy Kimmel was silenced only for like a few days. I'll probably talk about that in another episode, or maybe not. But now that, the pendulum is kind of swinging in an unconventional way upon white people and their institutions and their people in a major way. And like, again, this is not to say this has never happened before. Obviously, we know white people have been assassinated before. Abraham Lincoln's been assassinated. We know, but my point is, Americans have this thing to forget. But you can't forget, because this country, the hypocrisy that this country is displaying in this moment, in this very moment, is hypocrisy that she's displayed from the very beginning. And because now the ire and the stress and the silencing and the political violence isn't solely or majorly directed at black people, people are very shaken up about this. Because like I said, it's not just black Americans now. Charlie Kirk got hit. Wow, that really shook people up. He's a right-winger speaking all this, and he got hit up. It's crazy. But see, the issue with America is, even in this moment, we are still trying to bury, our country, the nation, is still trying to bury its truth. You can't create something based on a lie and expect that thing to operate in a healthy, functional manner. It can't. America started with the promise that all men were created equal, while simultaneously saying that, hey, these niggas over here are 3/5 of us and they're not human. A country built upon such a great level of lies, deceit, manipulation, and inhumanity is only going to reproduce more of the same. So again, this moment that we're in, is a very serious one, but it's a one where if we double down and do the right things, we can begin to understand and grow. I don't think that's going to happen, by the way, because if you look at it, like if you go to the altar and you promise your wife or your husband that you're going to have and to hold them and take care of them and sickness and health. However, you do none of those things. Again, because people on TV, they like to water down America's history and be like, well, have we always lived up to our ideals? No, but you've never lived up to your ideals. And anytime anybody has tried to force this country to live up to the ideals, it's been a major backlash. It's been a huge backlash. You know what I mean? And that's what we're in right now. I was listening and I meant to pull up the audio, and I make sure for future episodes that I'm pulling up audio when I want to address the things that I'm speaking on. But Megyn Kelly was speaking about, like I said, this moment and what's going on and all the things that are happening. And she was saying, we're lost. Like, we've lost ourselves. Like, where did we go wrong? Like, we haven't felt like ourselves. And then, like, you could see it, like, on her face, like, she kind of switched. And she went into, like, this, I don't even know. I don't even want to call, I don't want to label it. But she just, her whole mood switched. And she was just like, it was Obama. He did this. And that goes back to something that I've always thought, well, not always thought, but something I thought recently. And that's President Obama was the beginning of the end of what we know as America. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying America's not going to exist in the future, right? But what I am saying is President Obama, he didn't do anything for black people, by the way. I want to start off by saying that. But President Obama, as an image, as a avatar, represented everything that this country has been trying to avoid since it brought black people over here and enslaved them, right? It's been trying to avoid reckoning with its past. And so Obama, to a lot of white people who value themselves on the right, that value themselves Christian and all that type of stuff, Obama represents their worst nightmare. Because not only was he black, right? Like I said, he didn't do anything for black people, but just being black was enough. Being black, speaking on police brutality as a black man, even though he really didn't speak on it, but addressing it, acknowledging that it existed as a black man was enough for them. Being black was enough for them. And not only that, he signed into laws, LGBT laws. He repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the military. He did a lot of things that a supposedly or so-called Christian nation would not stand for, right? A so-called Christian nation does not, even if homosexuality has always existed, which we know it has, a Christian nation doesn't want to uplift homosexuality, right? It doesn't want that to be something that's a part of its ideals and something that it pushes forward. You know what I mean? But President Obama, when he came in, that's what he did. So there's this feeling amongst the right that, we have to act now. And as everybody can say, it's palpable. It's been palpable since Obama was in office, right? The past 16 years or so. It's been palpable. But the point I'm trying to make is he represents everything that's on for the right. President Obama represents everything that their worst nightmare is. Blackness, gayness, immorality in their minds. As far as the left goes, now here's where the greatest hypocrisy of America is brought to the surface. America will not have peace until she confronts her demons, right? As an alleged Christian nation married to the idea of freedom and justice, this country has actively tried to subvert those very principles. Obviously, we know about, in regards to black people, obviously we know about the 13th Amendment. We know about separate but equal. We know about all the crime bills and manipulative language that they've used in the Civil Rights Bill. But see, what most people aren't understanding is when you dehumanize a group of people based on their race, right? And then over the years, social conscious changes, and it doesn't really change, but technological advances, things have changed, your nation grows. And so slavery and things may not be as feasible, but you still don't want the niggas to have humanity, right? You in order to keep your country moving forward and seem like it's upholding those ideals, you might have to embrace deals with the devil. Meaning, as a Christian nation that doesn't want to reconcile with its racist, horrifically racist past and current and present, in an effort to dodge these things, to dodge confronting the real problem, you have to say, no, we do acknowledge humanity. See, we care about women. See, we care about gays. See, we care about transgenderism. See, we care about whatever you want to think about. But see, the trick on that is, again, the right and the left are both the same. This is why I don't play those Democrat-Republican games, because as you see with this resolution, the Democrats allowed it to happen. The Democrats didn't take no major stand on it. So they play the same game. See, but the Democrats play a game, and Malcolm X has stated this perfectly. Even Martin Luther King has stated this perfectly. A lot of black people before me have stated this perfectly. The Democrats like to play the game of we're your friend. But see, what the Democrats won't do is they won't embrace radical justice for black people. They'll say, we'll embrace gay people. Why? Because everybody's gay. You see what I'm saying? And when I say everybody's gay, I mean every race of people has homosexuality in it. Every race of people has transgenderism in it. Every race of people has women in it, right? So you find ways to seem like you're humanizing people, right? but you're not. Because ultimately, black people, whether they be gay or women or anything else, are still suffering at the bottom of every statistical category in America. So how can we be advancing on the grounds of all this great humanity and liberal social views, but black people as a group are still faced with the same system that's been destroying them since we came here? They duck reckoning with our issues. They throw up distractions. Like I said before, all of it is a distraction. And the crazy part is they've had to create subgroups. So now you were dealing in the initial problem that this country had was strictly with its black population. It was strictly with its black population. Hey, we don't see y'all as human. Y'all want to be seen as human. You know, we got to work this out. But because they will not I want to be very clear about this, because they will not reconcile with that fact of their psyche, that they don't recognize the humanity of all people, because white people in general, those who have white supremacist views and their sympathizers, who may not think they're white supremacists, but are, they struggle with humanizing people. But in an effort to dodge that reality, in an effort to not appear like the racist, white supremacist nation that it is, it created subgroups: homosexuals, feminists, transgenderists, which you could say is homosexuals, whatever. But they created subgroups who have, in their own way, feel like their own aggrieved group. They in their own way, they feel like they have the same gripe with America that black people do. And let's be clear, no group has the gripe that black Americans do on this country. But in an effort to dodge it, that's what they did. But but that's the issue. Now, the white consciousness has split, which is why I say the jig is up. We're here. We reached our destination. Because now we can't go forward. America can't go forward because the Christian white supremacists don't want the homosexual or feminist or transgender or liberal white supremacists to have power, because they don't want them to be able to dictate and build the country in their image with those ideals. And the right, nobody wants the right to have power, right? Because ultimately the right is white supremacists, right? Straight down, they don't care. They're here for it. Eugenicists, they down with it all. So that's why I keep saying we're here. We reached our destination. The toil. And we've been here before, but I think this one is different than even the civil rights movement. This is different. Maybe the only one that might be similar to this was the Civil War because of the divide. But I think the divide now is even deeper than the Civil War, because, again, the Civil War was just fought about economics, the philosophy of slavery. You know what I mean? So those were really the themes of the Civil War: economics, white men's right to determine of itself. It wasn't, again, the Civil War in white people's eyes wasn't about black people. But this moment that we're in now is deep, because now we're divided amongst, it's not even ideologies of other people. Like, this is ourselves, you see. Because if you're a homosexual person or a transgender person, or fancy yourself somebody who aligns with that, you in your mind in this moment aren't going back, because our country has already said, again, I've said this before, our country has already said certain things. Again, when you say all men are created equal, you can't then say homosexuals aren't created equal, you see. So now, that's why I said this is only going to take the moment we've been in. The Democrats getting shot, Charlie Kirk being murdered. Like, there's only going to Donald Trump being shot at multiple times. This isn't going to stop. And it's only going to get worse because we are polarized. I would argue more deeply than the times of the Civil War, because ultimately now there is no slavery to buoy the moral consciousness. And that's the point. The moral standing of most arguments for humanity and furthering this country forward have come from black Americans. They literally have. Our struggle has literally pushed this country forward. But when you negate that struggle, when you're the white supremacist power structure and you say, no, we're not dealing with these niggas no more. We're done with this. We're done with this. How do you continue to prove that the country is moving forward? How do you show people, the world even, because that's another thing. It's not about whether or not black people are moving forward, or even gays or whoever's moving forward. It's about what the world thinks, because when we send our military over on their shores, we got to have the image, the prestige to be able to back that up. But see, all of that is slipping. All of that is slipping. All of that is slipping. You can't build something on a lie and think that those lies won't keep resurfacing. America will always deal with its black problem until it deals with its black problem. The problem with America's black problem now is it's metastasized into a weird Frankenstein monster that the right is like, yo. But see, the left has pushed the right into a position where they feel like their backs are against the wall, because now you guys, like I said, you guys have embraced transgenderism. You guys have embraced all these different identities, which in and of themselves are not an issue. But to these people who value themselves a Christian nation with all that stuff that they believe, we're at a point, I keep trying to express, we're at a point now where we can't go back and we can't go forward ideologically. Somebody's ideas have to win. Somebody's ideas have to lose. The war between white America is real. The war for the consciousness of America is real. The nation's consciousness is irreparably split. It's irreparably split. There's no healing this. I want to be very clear. There's no healing this. We're not going to be able to heal this. What's going to have to happen is going to have to happen, and we'll see. I don't have faith, but we'll see going forward if the country can really live up to the ideals and its promises. The so-called left and the so-called right are at a crossroads not too unfamiliar to where they were at with the Civil War. Like I said before, we're here, man. We're here. There's going to be a new way going forward, regardless of what white America has in their hearts. Black American freedom, want what we've always wanted. Our humanity and reparations. That's it. And we're not going to stop pushing that line because it's hot outside. And it's definitely hot outside. So we're here, y'all. The jig is up. America's hypocrisy is being exposed. Every day you see somebody trying to defend Charlie Kirk's statements. They can't. It's causing more division. I saw on CNN that one of the guys is up there trying to defend, oh, that's not what he said. He said, and you can't defend him. And every time it's like the divide's getting deeper, bro. When they ban Jimmy Kimmel, the divide's getting deeper, bro. Even though Jimmy Kimmel even doesn't stand for nothing, that's not the point. You see, when you pass a resolution to honor Charlie Kirk, who has the same birthday as George Floyd, might I add, so there's some cosmic justice going on here. When you honor George Floyd, when you honor Charlie Kirk and pass a resolution honoring him, and the Democrats don't stand up, the party of justice, allegedly, according to them, they don't stand up. They don't use their power to nullify it. They just sit quietly and abstain or let it go through. America's hypocrisies are going to keep getting exposed day after day, week after week, event after event. And each event is going to be more polarizing than the next because everybody feels like they have to double down on their side. When Joe Biden was in office, he felt like he needed to double down. He felt like he needed to use his power to do certain things. And Trump's doing the same thing. And all this is doing is driving a wedge deeper and deeper and deeper in this country. And all I will tell black people is stay focused, stay constructive, and stay pushing the line for your humanity and reparations, because black people are owed redress for what's happened to us in this nation. And thank you for listening to today's episode. This has been D Stance.